silence before. Let's start with roll call, please.
Commissioner Kramer.
Present.
Commissioner O'Rourke.
Present.
Commissioner Rexroth.
Present.
Chairman Wessel.
Here.
Commissioner Ross is absent prior notice. Commissioner Allgaier. Here. Commissioner Lautner.
Present.
Thank you. At this time, we have public comment, 3 minutes, if you'd like to speak. Bill?
Yeah. Oops.
Oh, that was pretty funny.
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township, and again, to have trust, nothing goes forward without trust, right? Well, the machines are not trustworthy. And so we need one person, one ballot, one vote, one day. Just a little bit more about this movie. I'm glad so many of you took it. This is like a typical, I suppose, clerk or poll worker watcher helping. They look at 3 claims about the e-poll books in the movie, all of them. Then they give evidence to disprove them all. 3 claims about the ballot and marker claims on the bottom. They're all laid out. This is true, this is true, this is true, and it gives evidence to show that they're all false. And then it goes on to this guy. It's kind of hard to see his picture there, but he looks a lot like Eric Coomer. And that machine there on the picture is called the Dominator 5000. It looks a lot like our Dominion machine. Anyway, he lists 3 claims: no remote access, impossible to flip votes, post-election canvass, and all of those, they give evidence to disprove it. And it goes on to this guy, looks a lot like John Polis, who's the owner of Dominion, the head guy, and he gives evidence. They bring out the big guns with him, and those are all discounted too. I just started into this Tina Peters article. She was being sued. She's the clerk in Mesa County. She's the one that backed up the computers to save the data so it wouldn't be erased. She's not, she's being taken to court. It just, this article is from the 6th of February. You can find it on joehoft.com. And there's also an article on the 7th, the follow-up. She had COVID. She had to get a new lawyer. Her case was supposed to start like right now, but it's going to be delayed until July now. They've changed it. She's not being taken to court for the bad evidence about the machines. She's taken to court because they said she was manipulating one of the other workers in backing up the machines. So it's not saying that her evidence was wrong. And I'm almost out of time, so I'll continue on that and another topic at the end. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Any commissioner comment? We have 2 items on our agenda today, and the first item is on the beta, and Michelle received today the filing from the beta authority, and she has agreed to review that real quickly, and then Deb has a recommendation and a request.
So under the statute, as clerk to the Board of Commissioners Services, generally made on me, sometimes the chair of the board. So it was made, Jen's there's my chief deputy, that's fine. So we were served with the complaint that's filed in Grand Traverse County of Bay Area Transportation versus Grand Traverse County defendant and Leelanau County as a necessary party defendant. So being served today, and if it's in-person service, will start the 21-day count for service, and the administrator will have her information. We just spoke briefly that we will also send it to MMRMA, and I'll work with the administrator, because I don't think, since she's been here, that this has occurred. That's a procedure that we need to do too. It can be done concurrently, of course.
Thank you.
I've
Bill?
got a copy if you need it, but it's just thick. So we'd have to copy the whole thing.
In the original suit is Grand Traverse and Leelanau?
Well, we are listed as a defendant, but we're titled necessary party defendant. And I have not sat here to write the whole complaint, but that would make sense.
And Deb has checked with our obligation and our responsibility. I think talked to Nate at Grand Traverse County. And so we are going to need to proceed, and Deb has a recommendation.
So what you have in front of you, the EDS, it was not part of the original packet. So it should be in front of you right now. And this is a follow-up to the previous discussion that we've had in terms of reaching out to Micah Myers attorneys. They are out of Manistee, and they also have offices in Lansing and in Grand Rapids, and I think Detroit also, and several others. So this was a recommendation from the prosecutor to reach out, and the challenge that we've had is trying to find local attorneys that don't have a conflict with Grand Traverse County. And in that case, they would not be able to represent us in litigation. So there are other attorneys who are willing to look at the contract, but if we go to litigation, they would not be able to represent us. So that's why we've had to look out of the area specific. So that's where we are on this, and why we are recommending this. And so in the packet that was sent out, you do have the information that was provided in terms of the agreement letter. And the EDS here just basically speaks to, now this is, originally it was a notice of motion, now it's actually moved forward to being named in the case. So we're moving in the direction where we will need to secure counsel. And they are aware, standing by, and so basically the request would be to have the board approve the chairman to or the administrator to enter into an agreement with the legal firm, whichever the board would so choose. So I put myself down for whatever the preference would be.
And I know that a couple of you have asked a question about, well, what happens if we don't have legal authority and we let just Grand Traverse County fight it out with Beta? I understand that is not a possibility, not an option. Jamie, you want to speak to that? Or anything?
No, I mean, I just, I don't know, I guess, before, there's been a lot that I think we've talked about and gone over as far as Beta, but like, I'm here for anyone's concerns or questions. I'd be happy to answer to the best of my ability.
I just have a problem on why this is because of an action Grand Traverse, is that correct?
But we're on the dock.
Well, it would seem like we should have been sued, along with it. Maybe we do get the right attorney motion to exclude us or separate us from the suit. I think it's probably the first thing I would sue. What's our damages, but.
That's kind of where I was going to go as well. So to back up a little bit, so who initiated the lawsuit against Grand Traverse? Beta initiated a lawsuit against Grand Traverse?
There was going to be no lawsuits.
Okay.
If they had stuck to the interlocal agreement, basically, where it was one commissioner and one community member. They decided to move forward. That's why we were on the pause.
Right.
And they decided to go ahead and put two commissioners on, knowing full well that this was going to happen if they chose to do so. So that's where Beta was coming from. They let them know, they gave them ample warning.
And so then Beta took action.
No, and then, Beta took action after Grand Traverse County.
After Grand Traverse took action and appointed. So Beta
knowing that Beta would.
Okay, so did the Beta board vote then to hire or use their attorney and then file this lawsuit? Did your board vote to do that?
Did the board vote to?
Did they as a board vote to start the lawsuit? Did Beta board?
Beta board.
The Beta board is the one that's suing most of the moving party.
Yeah, we didn't have a meeting this last month because we were all kind of waiting. Don't quote me on this, but I believe we talked about
the,
We didn't think Grand Traverse was gonna go this far.
I know you were in a,
But-
so,
Yeah,
I'm not, again, I'm going to state this, I am not an attorney.
I
I
am
am
not
looking
either.
at this very quickly, okay?
yeah.
But one, Leelanau County is named as a necessary defendant. When you appoint an attorney, of course, your attorney is going to talk to all of you, probably in a closed session setting. Leelanau County is named as a necessary defendant, and they're a political subdivision member of Beta, that's paragraph 3. Paragraph 35 may address what you're asking here. It says, and this is just a complaint, so I'm simply reading from the statute. 35. While that did not occur, that prior 34 bullet points. In December, Beta passed a resolution authorizing the instigation of the dispute resolution process in the interlocal agreement and authorizing that the present action be filed should the dispute resolution process be unsuccessful. And that was a Beta resolution 23-06, which is outlined in Exhibit 8.
okay.
And that was resolution dated December 7th. Again, I have not read it, but it is
That's
outlined
right.
here in the
So-
administrator memo.
So the action happened in December and it was in place should Grand Traverse appoint.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we were kind of just
So-
waiting for the next move, and we just did put the pause on, like they were, yeah, we tried.
Okay, so, we're listed as a necessary, right, but what does that mean exactly? Because that's where I was gonna go. Can we waive, must we hire an attorney or can we waive our, defense in this case and allow the dispute to go on?
Deb has checked on that, so.
Yeah, actually, Michelle and I have talked about this too, and I know, I'm not gonna remember the term, but there is a term that if you don't have representation and you're named in a suit, you're leaving yourself open for liability. So it
Well,
would behoove us to have representation.
Yeah, but what the liability is that our liability would be that one of either Beta or Grand Traverse is gonna win. I mean, that's our liability. Cause there's really no damages. I doubt if there's any
One
damage.
should never presume that you're named in a lawsuit, and even if the outcome is that Leelanau County gets removed from the lawsuit, you would really want to have an attorney representing you to get to that.
I think that's it. We need
And
to
I
have an
don't-
attorney represent and remove us from the lawsuit. Because it was not,
Right.
it
and
was
I-
not
that's
our
where I'm
action that
going.
started this.
I don't, and that's kind of, exactly, so obviously I can see that, I don't mind having it. So maybe if this is, of all today is just to engage this guy so he can explain all this to us and tell us how we can get out of it, then that's fine.
Get an injunction.
But, you know, I don't, because I understand, I guess I have to look at this as like, what's the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is a 7-person board?
I think just as your clerk, I've got.
Doug Rexroth.
Are we going too far? Am I going too
You
far?
got, you gotta be careful, you've
Okay.
got pending lawsuit
Yeah.
against you,
Okay,
and you really should be exercising the Open Meetings Act and determining what you should actually be discussing in this open forum versus a closed session
Correct.
with a potential attorney, so I don't wanna see you.
go too far.
Get
Okay.
into the, don't get into weeds,
Don't
basically.
get in the
but,
weeds, all right.
uh,
Looking for a motion. Yes.
I move,
So just to follow up, I think that it is prudent to move to retain an attorney, and that further actions would be determined by his review of our situation. Such that, you know, maybe some of the actions proposed would be appropriate, but I think it is inappropriate to not have any
Yeah.
representation at this point, because none of us have read the complaint or can consider all of the possible outcomes that might come out of the court case, so that's why I would support that. So,
Commissioner Kramer?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners authorize the county administrator to enter into an engagement agreement with the legal firm Mika Myers PLC as outlined in the proposed engagement agreement. Support.
Any further discussion?
yeah, I haven't seen the proposed engagement agreement, and that's kind of where I was going. I don't know the extent of our obligation to this. Is it as minimal as we can have one closed session and discuss our options? Or is this the end of this suit? What is the engagement?
So the engagement letter was in the packet, it was mailed out or emailed out. There was a packet sent out earlier this week, and it had the actual engagement. No, this is,
Who was it sent from?
Was there-
no, I think, does everybody else, yeah, it looks like everybody,
We got it.
yeah, okay, so that's the,
Okay.
So it just
I missed
it just outlines the terms and the costs and the ability to move forward, so.
Mr. Director, while this being reviewed, I think though it would still be appropriate to advise after we retain that we expect to take the minimum actions required to protect our interests. And I think that could be given as a directive by the administrator to
The attorney.
say, this is what we're looking for. We're just trying to make sure we're not in trouble on something. I agree generally, like I'm not wanting to get in a fight, but we need to protect our interests. So whatever the minimum amount you need to do to advise us there.
Well, the worst case scenario is when that Beta succeeds in their lawsuit and then we have court costs that we have to pay.
Yeah.
That's why.
Or you never know. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
there's
why, our attorney will be able to tell us where we're at, where we're going, what our exposure is and how we get out.
So we have a motion. Are we ready to vote on that motion?
Yes. So,
Commissioner Lautner?
so say it includes. Since it includes travel. We can meet by teleconference with the gentleman, I don't want to pay him to drive up from Grand Rapids.
Manistee, they said, didn't you? That's 65 miles from.
Okay, this says Grand Rapids. Is he out of,
He's out of the Manistee office.
oh, he's out of their Manistee office, so Manistee, that's not terrible.
I think we can just request the administrator spend as little money as necessary to protect our interest and do the job and trust that he will do that.
Okay, so it looks like it's strictly hourly. Without a contract.
Yeah, it's not a retainer, it's an hourly
Okay.
special counsel.
So all those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you for researching.
Yes. The second item on our agenda, and it's listed as a closed session. That's a possibility. I'd like to kick this off with hearing from Doug on the Finance Committee this morning. And then we can have discussion on that if you'd like. And then we would entertain a motion to go into closed session if that's the wish of the board. It is my wish and Deb's wish.
So, just for the benefit of the public that wasn't here, and those committee members that didn't do a pass out, I'm just gonna read what I presented to the Finance Committee this morning, which was the basis of our entire discussion. It was a fairly brief meeting, it was done quickly, but for the benefit of those here, if you have any questions, please feel free. So I started off by restating the subcommittee guidelines. They should be given a specific, well-defined task by the entire board. Their purview should not extend beyond a specific task given to them. And once a task is completed, they are retired until given another task. The committee's specific current task is to research the present and present to the full board options and strategies related to moving forward with the implementation of independent finance department. Any financial matters outside of this specific task are not ours to handle. We said we'd listen, deliberate, and advise. After listening to Mr. Armheim's presentation and after discussion with staff members, the administrator, and others having expertise in these matters, I have the following observations, suggestions to make to this committee. Obviously, our efforts in the past in this area have not been fruitful. This does not, however, diminish our determination to implement an independent finance department. That having been said, one definition of insanity is that we need to try the same methods and expect a different outcome. We need to try something different. Do not believe that the best long-term solution is to have 2 direct reports to the Board of Commissioners. And I think there's a typo in that. is a double knot, but, so that, I make that clear, I don't believe that the best solution is to have two direct reports. Although that is our interim plan implemented for this transition, I do not think it provides for the best governance of Leelanau County in the long term. I propose that our long-term plan consists of an administrator slash CFO with a finance department that reports to that position. This position will require both administrative and deep financial experience. The goal would be to provide strategic guidance to the implementation of the finance department and to the implementation of the recommendations outlined in the agreement report. Discussions with Chet Janik of MLI believes there are those out there that possess these qualifications and that they're available. In addition, and I don't have the map handy, I think I gave it to someone, I don't know if I got it maybe back, but there's like 25, there are now 25 counties that engage a structure similar to this out of the counties of Michigan. I've had conversations with Administrator Allen in this matter, and to her credit, and as a testimony of her character, she has always stated she would do what is in the best interest of Leelanau County and its residents and taxpayers. My recommendation opened up the further discussion by this committee. That was followed by discussion of the committee members and a motion to move forward with this recommendation to the full board. So that's how we get to where we are.
So,
It would be appropriate to get the motion on the table, and then we can talk about it, and if we have legal questions about it, we can go into, we do have a attorney-client privileged communication here.
I appreciate the thought that went into this and the collaboration. And the understanding of Administrator Allen of the difficulty we've had with this process. And I would move that we proceed with this recommendation.
I don't know what her motion was, I can't hear her.
Oh, sorry, I'm getting all comfortable here. I would move that we proceed with this recommendation. You need more detail than that, don't you?
Second?
Do we need more detail? Do we need more detail for the motion? Oh, that's what I was wondering.
motion is going to closed session to discuss.
That wasn't a,
Or do you need a motion to go into closed session?
No, we're gonna, we.
That will-
Okay,
that will follow,
for this
but
motion first, for what you,
this motion
Okay.
first, because
Okay.
otherwise there's no reason to go.
so the motion is to approve this document, this document you just read?
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
Okay.
The recommendation to move forward with an
Okay.
administrator slash CFO position
got you,
for the
okay.
governance.
So we have a motion and we
I got
support,
it now.
okay,
We need support.
I need
support.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
This time it would be appropriate if you make a motion to go into closed session.
I would move that we go into closed session to discuss a written attorney-client privilege for civil counsel for MCL 15.68, subparagraph H, radio administrative structure.
Support.
And I have, I assume that this includes the administrator and of course the clerk will be there. So those will be the two people besides the board that'll be in the meeting.
Are you talking about me?
You will be there.
Or your,
Twice, yes.
or your representative, whoever you decide.
Could we vote on the motion going to closed session?
Roll call.
Okay.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel.
Yes.
Commissioner Alguier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Yes.
6-0.
Are ready to go to sleep, guys. I mean, I was great for my happy.
You have one of those?
Bullshit stuff.
Then we're bringing cocktails.
I know.
We have
Mini
to-
bar?
I told you,
Ready?
we should have a date.
I have to.
Oh. Commissioner O'Reilly.
I would move that we end closed session, come out of closed session.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
I,
Oh, you're going way too fast.
Roll call, I think.
You're going to have a
Falls
regular
apart.
motion out.
I turned the right thing on.
No.
Okay,
Okay, so we had a motion to resume open session, and that was made by Al Geyer. And who seconded that? Rex Rowe.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
I,
Okay,
good,
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Commissioner Rexroth.
I would move that this board approve the separation agreement with Administrator Allen as presented by council, and that we authorize Chairman Wessel to draft a letter of support and recommendation for Administrator Allen.
support.
Any further discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
I.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved 5-1. Thank you. That ends our business, and it's now time for public comment. If we have anybody that wants to make public comment, you're welcome to do that.
Give them a lender. Hello.
Yeah.
Say something.
Commissioner Kramer has to leave to pick up a child, so she is going to be excused.
Okay,
I got your DVD.
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. I've switched to Ken Paxton, Attorney General for Texas, interview with Tucker Carlson. Got 4 minutes and 20 seconds. If I do this right, so see if I can get it to play here. Georgia and Texas were even in the 2016 race, both won by 8%. In 2020, Georgia fell, Texas still had 8%. It's because Ken Paxton prosecuted cases where they tried to do the mail-in ballots, just mail them out to everybody like we did in Michigan. So see if I can find it here. Oh, great. Here it is, okay.
How does Cracker Barrel make such a delicious extra sharp cheddar? We do things a little differently. We
Sorry.
combine cream for extra smoothness with a unique aging
I had
process for bold sharpness.
Ken Paxton, how bad Ken Paxton is.
The Board of Managers presented overwhelming evidence.
A finding of acquittal is entered as to Article 1.
Well, this is a resounding victory. Ken Paxton has survived.
Who's voting. So when they say you can't prove voter fraud, that's the system that they like, because we can't prove voter fraud. We set up a system that's completely open, and that's what's happening in America.
So that's why Georgia, which most of
The state, the laws are going
I
to
just
change.
have to start a little ways
All the voter
into it.
laws are going to change. You're going to California where you can just mail-in ballots. What I know from mail-in ballot, having fought this for the last election, winning 12 cases on mail-in ballots, that unfortunately other states like Georgia did not fight. I know that mail-in ballots are completely unreliable. If you just
It's right
mail them out
here
to
if you wanna
everybody, you
read
have no idea who's sending them back. There's no
Right about
verification. When
there.
they say you can't prove voter fraud, they are right. Because normally what you have to do, if you're gonna mail in ballot, you have to satisfy the laws under certain categories. You're over 65, you're out of state, what, you're disabled. You satisfy, you sign an affidavit, you send it in with your application. This is my signature. And then when you send your ballot, they send you a ballot and an envelope. You sign that envelope with your signature, you stick the ballot and they verify the signature. Not the best, not as good as photo ID that we have for all other voting, but it still is something. But when you change it to mailing it out to everybody, we have no
Like
idea.
in
We have no
Michigan?
signature verification. We have no idea who's voting. So when they say you can't prove voter fraud, that's the system that they like, because we can't prove voter fraud if we set up a system that's completely open. And that's what's happening in America.
So that's why Georgia, which most of us thought was a kind of conservative
here.
state, became one of the most left-wing states in the country, you believe, because of mail-in ballots.
I sat there on election night. So I told the president in I think it was May, I said, Mr. President, I have 12 lawsuits in the most liberal counties. I'm losing in every county because they sued in liberal counties where all the judges are liberal, Court of Appeals are liberal. I'm gonna have to find a way to get to the Supreme Court or the Fifth Circuit before it's too late, before they mail those ballots out, or you won't win Texas. I guarantee you. If Harris County can send out 2.7 million ballots, you won Texas by 600,000, you will not win. And if we have multiple counties doing that, they'll figure out how many votes they need. We won every
the back
single
page.
lawsuit, all 12. And I told him, we lose one, you're done. He didn't believe me. And I said, you've got to watch this in other states, because if this is happening in Texas, which it looks like it's a national program, I can only focus on Texas. You better make sure this doesn't happen in other states. And sure enough, Georgia, which had the same margin of victory for Trump 4 years prior, they don't stop it. The governor, the AG, they sign a consent decree, and they have mail-in ballots with no signature verification. They have drop-off boxes, and they allow all these mail-in ballots. And guess what? Now Georgia, that had the same margin of victory for Trump, now suddenly we have a 8 or 9% win for Trump by protecting the ballot box. In Georgia, he loses by what, 14,000? I don't know. It was a small amount. And I knew when they stopped counting votes on election night, I'm sitting there watching going, this is what they would have done in Texas. And all the.
What was that about?
What's that?
They stopped counting votes on election night?
Because what they needed to figure out was how many real votes there were, so they could figure out how many mail-in ballots to apply to the election. That's what they would have done in Texas. I'm convinced.
So you think that was fraud, right?
I have no doubt, having been through that whole
It
process.
wasn't just a water leak?
It was definitely planned. I mean, it would have happened in Texas. I promise you.
But can you just stop counting ballots on election night when
They
everyone's
did it.
watching TV? Oh, I know.
Have you ever seen that before, ever? For 3
Well,
hours?
you tell me. You're the
I
one,
have
you're in
never
politics.
seen, I've never seen it before in my life. I was like, I knew it when they stopped. And Trump is leading in all these states. I knew exactly what they were doing. They were, because there's no way to know where those mail-in ballots came. Anybody could have filled them out. Anybody. There's no way to know where those ballots came from.
That's not a dangerous conspiracy theory?
I watched it happen. I was a part of it. So they tell me I'm crazy whenever I talk about it. They tell me that I should shut up. As a matter of fact, they're going after my state bar license right now for
Thank you.
You're welcome.
going after election fraud and the overall.
Now down to commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments? Well, I have just one more thank you to Jeff. I know I speak for all of us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And if it's appropriate, I would echo that too. This has been a really process. Being for this energy.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Go home.